Welcome to the See the Good podcast. And it's a podcast all about positive things that are happening, sometimes in obscure places where you may not hear about them or may not know what's going on. And it's all about good and positive vibes. And in our world today, there's a lot of easy ways to see the bad. So we want to focus on seeing the good. And so today I have with me Jeff Soulliere, who is the Director of Programming at CareLink International. And Jeff has quite a varied background in optical, starting in optical and then getting in the nonprofit space. And he's literally been all over the world, and he travels for us and sets up our programming. And his hands are in a lot of things. You can see behind him. Is that your hockey jersey behind you?
That is my hockey. I was gonna change my background today.
Ha ha.
I have a right in front of me. I have like a shelf that has little trinkets from all over the world. I was gonna put that behind me, but I didn't feel like putting more nails in my wall. So that is
Yeah,
the hockey.
yeah. Yeah, so Jeff uh, played college hockey. He's a father of two little girls who are just so cute, and I love it when they wander in on a Zoom call. And he drives a Jeep. So that's my first question, Jeff. Do you do the duck thing?
Yes. So I have drank the Kool-Aid.
You've drank the Kool-Aid. Okay.
Drank the Kool-Aid. I keep it contained. So for
It's
anybody who's familiar with a Jeep, right in the center of the dash, there's almost like a perfect spot to hold 5 to 6 ducks. And the girls get a kick out of it. So I have a bag of all the ducks we've collected. I mean, we've given them out, but 50 plus ducks that sit in our car. But the girls just think it's the coolest thing. When we come out of a store and there's a duck there, or if they see a Jeep that they like. And yes, most of our ducks are protected from UV rays and they come with sunglasses.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So I don't know if you know this, but I drive an 8 passenger Toyota Highlander,
Mhm.
and we have a similar community. Ours is a little bit different. So ours consists of French fry crumbs and straw wrappers, and that's what you find in the Toyota Highlander. So
Well, if our vehicles cross, I have plenty of French fry crumbs and wrappers in my back seat that I can share with you.
awesome, awesome. So first, uh, diving into the more serious side of things, and so one of your most recent initiatives with us, and then we'll dive into your background a little bit, has been our Hometown Heroes initiative. And I think what's special about it to me, partly is because though I'm in Nashville now and have lived in multiple places, Michigan will always be home to me, and especially northern Michigan. And you're in one of those kind of northern Michigan small towns that similar to what I lived in, and it's just its own kind of feel and its own kind of world, but very rural. And so tell us a little bit about the Hometown Heroes program and some of the things that it's getting involved in, some of the connections you've made, and how it all got started.
Yeah, well, I think your plug to the Jeep is a perfect tie into this because that's actually how it came about. So we'll take the Jeep out on state land and we'll do some like light off-roading. And while I was driving through some of the state land, a little bit before that, I was set out with the task of, hey, let's start exploring US based programs. And while we were driving through the state land, enjoying nature and everything else, unfortunately, you see the sad parts of it as well. So as we were driving, drove past a couple people living in tents, out in the middle of woods, people living in their cars, and I kind of just started like, how do we bring help to these individuals as well? I mean, there's a lot of organizations that are doing some phenomenal work. I've been fortunate to work for some of them. Unfortunately, a lot of times their focus is in more populated areas that it's easier to get volunteers for. And unfortunately, some of these small towns, like you mentioned, they're already facing barriers to begin with. About 20% of the population lives in rural America, and 18% of those counties that are classified as rural don't have any eye care access, period. So there's these huge vision deserts that we see in our own backyard. And, I think we talk a lot about um, access to vision care, access to health care when we think of low and middle income countries, but it's right here in our backyard too. So as we were driving around, obviously with the launch of our CareLink eyewear store, I kind of came up with the idea. I was like, what if we can create a way that we can enable some of these organizations who are already doing screenings, whether it's the Head Start programs, whether it's schools, that we can enable them a way to have a solution for the problem they're identifying. And that's really what we created. We created this voucher system that once individuals, kids, adults, whoever it may be, once they're identified that they need glasses or they would benefit from a pair of glasses, if they then can't afford them, we can step in and help provide them with the access to the glasses that they need to see clearly.
Yeah, is and I didn't align any of the podcasts in any particular order, but um, it was so interesting talking to Dr. Aloju. Um, she was meeting people in prison as adults whose journey down that road began with, I couldn't see and I
Yeah.
couldn't work and I ended up with the wrong crowd. And then in our second podcast, Ash had talked about how she just kind of gave up on college and it was her vision really. And so many people, there's various conditions that we hear about, whether it's amblyopia is just one of the simple ones, but can really set somebody behind. And getting out there into these programs before that road starts and is so important with these Head Start programs and some of these school screening initiatives, and making sure that they get off on the right foot. And I think that when you started on this journey, you uncovered the fact that there were dollars set aside by the government and things to screen, but there was nothing done after the screening. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I don't have the info in front of me. I was kind of peeking to see if it was still in one of my like 40 tabs that are opened on my other window here, because I was just looking at this yesterday. But the states, and I'll speak specific to Michigan, but most states fall into the same category. They do a phenomenal job with screenings. Like here in Michigan, for example, Head Start program, I believe, starts in young fives. They screen young fives, kindergarten, first, third, fifth, seventh, ninth grade, and 11th, I think, too. Um, but unfortunately, the issue is they're identifying the need, but then they're really not doing anything to solve that. And while a good chunk of those kids, their families luckily can go out and afford a pair of glasses, or they have vision insurance that helps cover them, there's a huge gap that aren't covered. When we were having some conversations with the Department of Health and Human Services around here, they were estimating that upwards of 20% of the kids, specifically in rural areas, that are identified as needing a pair of glasses never actually end up receiving one.
Yeah.
Um, and to your point too of some of your previous podcasts talking about not having a simple pair of glasses resulted in them dropping out of college, maybe turning to a life of crime and ending up in prison. It's so true. I mean, when you look up the statistics of the economic burden that someone's vision plays, it's insane. With kids, 80% of their vision, or I'm sorry, 80% of their learning is visual. Well, if you
Yeah.
can't see clearly, you're kind of putting yourself behind the eight ball right from the get-go.
Yeah. We and economics gets a lot of attention as to people not getting the opportunities they need to get somewhere, but we don't often pull the eyewear into that conversation of, oh
For
my
sure.
gosh, we're setting them behind in their learning so much if they can't see. And I dispensed classes in Flint um, on and off for several years. I had a business partner. He had a location in Flint, and I had one in another small town, and our towns were so different. And what I learned there at his location, because he took all of the state Medicaids and all of those programs, was um, most of our patients walked to us.
Hmm.
And that's why they were our customer, was because they walked and
Yep.
we were within walking distance. And sometimes I would get on the phone with them and it might be a plan that we couldn't take. And, they would say, do you know someone else that takes this plan? And I would like, oh yeah, just across town, this office takes that plan. And they would reply, oh, that's too far to walk. And
Hmm.
that never occurred to me. And you know, um, there's a little bit of public transit in the Flint area, but there's nothing in Gladwin, Michigan, where you are. I mean,
There's
there,
no
there's,
Ubers. Um,
yeah,
there's one lady who, on a rare occasion, will post in a Facebook group that she's going to be doing DoorDash this day, Tuesday, and then you could, but yeah,
Tuesday, Tuesday, if
yeah,
you want your DoorDash. Wow.
yeah, yeah. Save your DoorDash points for Tuesdays because that's when it's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, it's to your point, access isn't just about money. It's about
Right,
geographical location. Does the family have two cars? I mean, maybe the husband or wife, maybe the wife works and the husband stays home, but then he can't go during the day because he doesn't have a vehicle. Yeah, there's so many things that go into access itself. And, a lot of people would even say too, well, wouldn't the people who can't see clearly, wouldn't they call it out? And unfortunately, no. A lot of these individuals, it's not a light switch. Their vision, they don't wake up one day and say, oh
right.
my gosh, I used to be able to see that picture on the wall and now it's blurry. It gradually happens. So to them, it's normal. It's just what vision is. So there's really not even that red flag of like when you get sick and you wake up and you got a fever or you're puking or you're having stomach cramps and oh man, I need to go to the doctor to get this checked out. It's almost like a silent issue where it goes on, goes on, goes on, and then the impact though and the ripple effect that it has is so big.
Yeah, I mean, 2020 is a measurement of distance, right? And it's in some ways a little, subjective. And they just don't, they're kids. They just don't know that somebody else can see that thing that
Yep.
they can't see. And that's the only measurement of acuity, is what can you see at what distance. And they just simply may not know that other people are seeing things that they should be seeing as well. So, and I know that the government has a lot of initiatives right now, the Broadband Internet Infrastructure Act.
Yep.
There's a lot of different initiatives because these deserts are so real, and sometimes technology is the only way to bridge that gap. And I think that's what's great about our voucher program is they can try them on online. They don't need a vehicle if they can get to internet somewhere, or someone can bring them to internet or something like that. There's multiple ways that they can get to that care. So I
Yeah.
think it's a fantastic program, and so important because these deserts are seems like they're only getting bigger with time. It's not going away, the issue. So I wanted to dive into a little bit of your past, because you have been a lot of places, and you've witnessed a lot of, you know, touching moments. And I want to hear about some of those in various countries. I know you've worked for one site and you've had a lot of different opportunities to serve around the world. So if you could just highlight a couple of those impactful moments.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And kind of going full circle here too, to my previous comment about someone might not know that they actually have a vision issue until they go to the doctor. Here I am now, someone in the optical field that talks about the importance of getting your eyes checked. I went the first 25 years of my life without ever going to an eye doctor. Think of one other type of doctor that you don't go to for 25 years. I mean, it's unheard of.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I was in school, playing hockey for Saginaw Valley State, I needed a job. So I got a job. My now sister-in-law was working at Lens Crafters, and she got me a job there, kind of caught on quickly. I was starting off in sales, started dabbling in the lab, kind of became a jack of all trades there. And one of my heroes, Dr. Ashley Bailey, she was our lead doctor there, and she was very adamant about giving back. One site was a huge part of what we did at Lens Crafters, and when I was eligible, I signed up to partake in my first one site clinic. I ended up getting accepted, and I went to China. So this was also the first time outside of like Canada or Mexico that I really left the country, and I was going to China for 2 weeks. And it was just such an amazing experience. When I went, I can say that I was almost treating it as a little vacation. It was a chance to get away. Yeah, we were going to be doing some cool work, but it was a chance to go to China. And I got there and I had seen the people. We were there for 2 weeks. We did just under 6,000 eye exams, manufactured a little bit over 5,000 pairs of glasses. And witnessing some of the stories, there was a little girl. I was working in the lab. She had came through, and I was given the heads up, hey, this girl, she was about 10 years old, was coming through the clinic, and she had around like a -5 prescription total power. She had never had glasses before. Her parents couldn't afford glasses for her, and just a very likable kid, just smiles from ear to ear. So she came back and she actually watched and helped us cut out her actual glasses. And then I was fortunate enough to then be able to dispense them to her in her classroom. And I have a video that I'll share, or I'm sorry, a photo, but I gave her glasses. She put them on. And at first, it really wasn't the response that I thought she was gonna get. It was almost like a confusion. I was expecting this huge smile, and she looked very confused. And with the language barrier, I was trying to give her like the everything good, and she nodded yes, went back and sat down. And then as we were dispensing glasses to other kids, I peeked over at her, and she was holding up a book, just the biggest smile on her face possible. And one site they do a really good job following up, and they had followed up with her, and grades turned around, pretty much like a straight A student. And it's just like that simple pair of glasses just changed that girl's world. So to witness that in person was amazing. I mean, there's stories of work that I did in Africa, kids putting on glasses for the first time and saying that's what a leaf looks like.
Yeah.
And for someone who doesn't wear glasses or doesn't have a prescription like that, to think that this whole kid's life, trees were just a green blob.
Yeah.
It was just something green in the distance. And he was able to witness what a leaf actually looked like. So yeah, I mean, stories from all over the world. In Africa, I had the privilege to help set up sustainable vision centers and set up labs there, clinics in Colombia, Australia, kind of all over the place. So, yeah, I mean, I think we could probably go on for days about stories,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to. But yeah, it always warms your heart. And, going back to Hometown Heroes, probably one of the best feelings I ever got. Which is kind of crazy to say. Well, we'll take having my kids out of it, work-wise, professionally. One of the best feelings I got was doing the work here in Gladwin. Again, I've been fortunate to travel the world, do clinics all over the place. Between one site's efforts and my time there, we've helped over 20 million people get glasses during my tenure with them. But helping the small handful of kids right here in the town that I live in areas that I know some of these larger groups will never make it to, was really special. And to hear the one girl, Tegan, tell me that she was going to be so excited to go home and see her mom's face, and then that when she grew up, she wanted to help people just like me. Um, it really got me kind of teary-eyed that, hey, we're doing this work for the right reasons.
Yeah, yeah. You had showed some photos at our board meeting, and you were a little choked up that day, and I think you had us all choked up that day. And I think the reality of it at home, um, you look at these kids and you're like, oh my gosh, these could be my kids, you
Mhm.
know, and you realize that you drive the same roads, you go to the same grocery stores, you go through the same programs in
Mhm.
life, but they didn't get to the place that we got and didn't get the care that they needed, and it can be heartbreaking, to see them stuck in that right here in our own backyard.
Sure.
And so it is an exciting program, and I think you really moved all of us with the presentation at our board meeting, showing us the photos, and it brought back things that scenes in my mind of places I had driven by and seen. Um, you know, you drive by a house that is just covered in a tarp, and you assume it's abandoned, and then one day you see a light on in there and you're like, oh my goodness, somebody's trying to live in there,
Yep.
and and trying to carve out a life, and then like you mentioned, you see a kid waiting for the bus out in front of a place like that, and it just, it grips you in a way. And
Yeah.
so I'm excited about these programs. I'm excited about where they can go. And I appreciate you coming on the podcast today. All around us, there's people, average people who drive Jeeps like Jeff, uh, doing
Yes.
wonderful work, and you can too. And so, thanks again for coming on, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Mark. Appreciate all the work you do, and look forward to continuing to do great work around the world together.
Thanks.